Where has Elias Pettersson's game gone for the Canucks as the Stars take charge in their series against Vegas? Hey everyone, welcome into Off the Post. Rob Wong, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Sports columnist Steve Simmons, Canucks reporter for the Vancouver Sun and the Province, Patrick Johnston, and Postmedia hockey columnist Bruce Garrioch. And guys, the Vancouver Canucks have a series lead over Nashville, and they'll try to close it out on the road. Despite that, Elias Pettersson struggling so far in this series with just 2 assists in 5 games. Patrick, he was over a point per game during the regular season. Why has it not translated so far for number 40?
Well, even more impressively, he was 64 points at the All-Star game. He was sailing high, looking great, third start of the month for January, and then since then it's kind of fallen off a cliff, and it's all a bit of a mystery for us. Some people say it's between the ears. Others were trying to figure if there's an injury there. Is it a wrist maybe? I mean, he's been seen taping his wrist. He's had wrist injuries in the past. It probably most likely is just a combination of things. I think he's not feeling 100%, and I think he's certainly not feeling a lot of confidence because we're not seeing a player that's shoot the way we're used to seeing him shoot and missed the net a couple of times. I mean, he had a wide open net in game 2 that would have changed the story of that game, had a late rush in game 5 where instead of picking one of the corners, he hit UC Saros in the mask. I think it's just a player that needs to get a little bit of puck luck and probably take a deep breath more than anything.
You know, sometimes guys' games don't translate to playoffs, but in the case of Pettersson, his game didn't translate to the last 20 games of the regular season. Yeah. So we're not talking about a playoff slump here. The guy's got 1 goal in 18 games. He's carrying around bags of money.
Yep.
And you can't skate when you're carrying around all that money and trying to justify the amounts the Canucks are now paying him. He's been a huge bust from the minute he signed his deal almost to now. And the last quarter of the season, he was terrible.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, Steve, because you often see in the playoffs where you can't just flick a switch, right? Teams can't just flick a switch. If they're struggling going into the playoffs, that they have a hard time just flicking a switch. And if a player is struggling like that going into the playoffs, Elias Pettersson, Patrick, you watch a hell of a lot more of him than Steve and I do, but he can't just flick that switch. And what I find more concerning is the amount of turnovers he's making, right? Like it's just he's not on his game at the moment. And if the Canucks can do it without him in round 1, that's fine. But they can't have, 2 or 3 rounds of this.
It's in the end, he's got to build a pattern of success, and he's not doing anything right. Nothing's working for him. You're absolutely right, Bruce. You're absolutely right, Steve. You can't just turn this around. The last couple of games have been better. I think there's been hints of a guy finding his way back, but he's not getting any results. And he's not a player that before this season, really, even at any level, has ever really struggled. So you wonder about sort of his ability to cope, his ability to figure this out, because this is an unprecedented event for him. And maybe he'll turn his way around by the end of the series. Maybe he'll find his way if they make the next round. But certainly, I don't think there's going to be an overnight revolution. That's for sure.
Sorry, but if they go to the next round and they're playing McDavid and Draisaitl, and Pettersson's a no-show, it's going to be way more apparent there than it is now because Nashville doesn't have one of those kind of guys that you have to worry about the way the Canucks do.
Meanwhile, the Dallas Stars, Steve, have found themselves 1 win away from advancing to the second round. Remarkable, considering that they lost the first 2 games of that series at home to Vegas, who look like the defending Cup champs for a reason. Will Dallas close this one out in Game 6, or is this one headed to 7?
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it goes 7, and I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if it goes overtime in 7. These teams know how to play, and they know how to win, and they know how to play playoff hockey. And so whoever comes out of this series, can bang on their chest 3 or 4 times, just to applaud the victory. It's been that hard, and it's been that hard of a series so far.
Bruce?
Well, I look at it and I say the Vegas Golden Knights, how do I put this? I don't think that Bruce Cassidy, to me, is an even-keeled guy. And I just thought when he went into the game last night and made all kinds of changes, that to me said he's worried. And I honestly, I don't believe this series is going to get to 7 because I think Cassidy went a route that you didn't expect him to go. And I just look at it, Patrick, and I say, that's been absolutely the best first round series of all the series. but I think they've put themselves in a very, very difficult spot.
Vegas, that is.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Dallas seems to have found their game. They've found their way. They're taking over in terms of chances, in terms of shots. The first two games, I mean, Vegas played really well. That was the Vegas I think we all expected they could be. But Dallas just seems to have found an extra gear here, the depth that they have. And I think just a little more fresh. I mean, it's tough to go back to back. Vegas did not have a long break. They're bringing all these guys back. It's if they had another month, maybe they could put us all together. But I think they're just running out of time here. And I think Dallas is just going to skate away from this one. I think they're going to win it in 6.
And Rob, before we move on, let's be honest here. Who doesn't want to see Vegas go down in flames here? I mean, come on. Like with the flirting with the salary cap the way they do, some of the way they operate themselves. You know, someone told me once, it might have been you, Steve, said it's the arrogance that you operate yourself with that gets you in trouble. I don't think anybody would mind if the old arrogant George McPhee took a hit on this one. I like McCrimmon. I don't have a lot of use for McPhee.
Two of my favorite DMs in the entire NHL are Kelly McCrimmon and Jim Nill. And so I'm watching this series and I don't know who to cheer for or anything else. I'm just enjoying the hockey playoff brutality of it all. And it's been good so far.
Well, it's the one series, quite frankly, that's lived up to its billing.
Yeah, I think I'm with Bruce, though. The schadenfreude here with the Vegas Golden Knights would be incredible to watch. Lastly, the Rangers and Hurricanes patiently waiting for their second-round series to begin. Bruce, it's the President Trophy winners from New York against the third-best team record-wise from Carolina facing off, and Gary Bettman's good old playoff system here. But who do you like to win this series?
Well, I think it's sad that this is coming in the second round, quite frankly. Because you're going to see a very good team get eliminated. I think the one thing you've got here, guys, and I was thinking about it this morning, is you've got the two best goaltenders in the playoffs so far going at it, and Shesterkin and Anderson, and two very, I would say, in some way, shape, or form, very kind of hard-nosed coaches going after each other too. In that, you know, I look at Rod Brind'Amour and Peter Laviolette, you know, two guys who I think, you know, have, well, certainly Laviolette kind of, his career took off in Carolina. I think you look at these two guys, and these two guys, they play from, these two guys, their teams, guys, they play from the tips all the time. And I think that's what we're going to see in this series. And I do believe in the end that I think that the Rangers have more talent, but I think the Hurricanes are going to give them a run for their money.
Steve?
You know, Bruce, your math needs a little work. You said the two teams shouldn't be meeting now because they should be meeting later, but there's a team in Florida. So if there's Florida and there's the Rangers and there's Carolina, you know, there's three. Somebody's getting eliminated. So, in fairness,
what Rob set me up.
It's not very that there's three great teams in the East going to the next round. I think this is a phenomenal series. I think it's from the point of view, Peter Laviolette coached the Carolina Hurricanes to a Stanley Cup. His captain was Rod Brind'Amour. It's very rare you get a situation where a guy is now coaching against the guy who coached them to a Stanley Cup. So I think that's a great part of this whole story. I got this as a 7-game series, and I've just wrote this down. Jake Gensel scores the winning goal in Game 7 in overtime to send Carolina to the conference.
We are so often complaining about the quality of second-round series. I have a hard time complaining about the quality of this one. To me, it comes down to Freddie Anderson absolutely being 100% the story for me. You look at Carolina, they've been such a hot favorite the last couple of years. They've never got the goaltending. Is he about to give them the goaltending? Well, he's going to have to against the Rangers. And yeah, Jake Gensel, I mean, it's been a fantastic addition. The Hurricanes play such a complete game, and then they added like the most complete winger available at the deadline. He's been a great addition for them. That's what it's going to come down to me, is all about the goaltending. And in the end, can Gensel be that X factor that Carolina just hasn't had before? So yeah, 7 games, I think.
Yeah, feels like it's going to be a lengthy one. Should be a heck of a series, to say the least. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For Steve Simmons, Patrick Johnston, and Bruce Garrioch, I'm Rob Wong. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.